Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Joe. Bum, 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 bum. I want to talk about the events of the last 48 hours during my vacation because there's a lot of life lessons to unpack in there. A little bit of background about myself. I'm an adjunct professor at a community college in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm traveling in Taipei, Taiwan. And so something I noticed is that when I'm interacting with these other guests at the hostel, none of these are have anything to do with my livelihood, right? It's a very different concept than interacting with a colleague or a boss or even a student, right? And I find that it changes the dynamics of the interaction. If something happens that requires me to say something, there's no barrier to go against saying it, right? So, for example, I was at a karaoke night with four other guests in the hostel. I don't drink. And so when we got to the place, we were looking through the menu, food and drink menu and all that. And these kids, in their wisdom, decided that between the five of us and myself and I think one other person didn't even drink, that it would be a good idea to buy a 24 pack of beer just because per beer it was a little bit cheaper. And now a bunch of it just sits in our fridge here at the hostel. It takes up valuable real estate in the first. And I was not about to shoulder any of that cost because I can't drink. My face will flush red. I'd probably die if I had as much beer as they did. I really would. And so I counted up how much my share of that karaoke night and whatever I was getting was going to be, and I pulled out the cash. I said, that's great for you. Got to realize I don't drink, and I'm not going to contribute to it. I said it a little bit nicer than that, but I counted out the cash in front of them. Now, had this been a workplace social, right? Now, I might have done it at a workplace social, but certainly had this been like a workplace meeting where something was done in an unfair way, right? The hours given to us were unfair or something like that. That would be a harder sell for me, right? Because I actually need that job. Or better yet, other times at workplaces where I really want to speak my mind, right? So, for example, I was teaching at a different college. Our grading system was really a drag. It was taking up too much of my time to use, and I, I didn't speak it as much as I should have. I'm trying to think. There are definitely times at work where I've swallowed things that I shouldn't have because I actually and it really stifles workplace creativity, right? So imagine this. Imagine you're about to make some sort of investment, financial investment, an ETF, and your gains are taxed at a very high rate, right? Let's say it's 90%, right? But your losses, not only do you not get to deduct them, but there's a penalty for losing money, right? If you lose too badly, the government thinks you're an idiot and they penalize you on top of whatever you lost. You got to pay 100% of that again as a penalty, right? Now you better have a really good investment before you invest in it. You got to have a really good solid foundation for that before you put any money into an investment that looks like that, right? But that's the workplace in a nutshell, right? A lot of times good results get watered down, right? Other people steal your credit and all that. Bad results really stick out, right? And so it really stifles innovation. I wish that's why I often wish for hitting a windfall, right? If I went to work with $1 million in my pocket, I actually think I would do a better job because I wouldn't be held back, right? I'd so much love to see my work and my money decoupled in some kind of way. I really would. I still go to my job. I swear, I pinky swear on that. But I'd like to see my job decoupled with my living expenses and money in general. Okay, put that out there. I'll pinky swear to that. If I go against my word, you guys will know about that. Now, then I went out with the girl I met on Bumble 6 months ago, and Once again, it's not something that's directly connected to my livelihood, although that one's a little bit more connected. Here's why. I don't remember why I returned to the dating scene. A year ago today, I was grappling with long COVID during a heat wave in Phoenix. I remember it was around the time of the 4th of July because I also remember mourning the loss of Mary Curry, 90 years. And I thought to myself how nice it would be to have a Mary Curry in my life. The two of us could cook for each other, clean for each other. I wouldn't have to go out and brave the elements every time I had an illness or something like that. So that one was a little bit higher stakes than the people at the hostel, but only a little because I'm not earning my paycheck through her or her entourage or all that, right? And I find that I could actually speak, right? She, um, her sister lives in Vietnam and was here. Her niece is here to study Mandarin during the summer, taking some summer classes. But on the way back to the airport, her sister forgot her passport, if you could believe it. And she spent the day chasing that around. And so I gave him some advice. I told them, because they're in an Airbnb or a hotel or something like that. Because I've made that mistake before, and I now make it a rule. If I use the hotel safe for anything, I leave my car keys or something that I can't leave the hotel without in the safe, right? So I was telling her about my little trick, and or they can leave their shoes, right? Because they don't drive here, but a lot of Asian people don't like to wear shoes into the house. So next time, leave your shoes in the safe and all that. So we were talking about that. Now I had a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction yesterday, though. You see, during my time in Taiwan, I had a little bit of a hack. I had a favorite all-you-can-eat hot pot restaurant, and what I would do is only eat once a day and go there. And unfortunately, I lost a lot of weight eating only once a day, going to that hot pot. And so as a result, I my pants were almost falling yesterday, and she pointed that out twice, and I was kind of really embarrassed. And so once again, I got to speak my mind. I said, there's too much good food here in Taiwan. Good healthy food, right? Most people, if they eat too much good food, would have the opposite problem, right? Too much good healthy food here in Taiwan. And so, had this been a workplace setting, you might have to tiptoe. Yeah, I mean, that might be an okay thing to say at work, but you might have to tiptoe a little bit, right? Because for a lot of people, too much good food is associated with the opposite problem, and they might not want to hear that you're eating good food and your pants are falling off, right? And you get the idea, right? I hate that the amount of mental RAM. Right, we all have a certain number of gigabytes of RAM up here, and you're spending a good amount of that thinking about your sensitive colleagues, thinking about uh, uh, how not to offend the wrong person at work, thinking about how to save your job rather than innovate at your job. Oh God, please give me a ton of gold so I can actually go to work and be myself. Please, please, please. I'll do my job a lot better. Dear God, invest in me. I'll bring it back to you, right? 10 times, right? With the innovation. I really would. I really would. Now, more generally, I hope we have a society where we are we stop being compensated for how well we socialize and start being compensated for what we actually contribute. Right? Now, our system is broken. Right? That people have to spend so much RAM on the office politics. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.